Member Dismore.
Yeah. The London Fire Brigade role is becoming more complex and demanding with rapidly changing emergency, regulatory, resilience and community duties. How does your budget enable the Brigade to deliver all these capabilities, bearing in mind the Brigade are currently expected to find almost £25 million worth of savings by 22-23, and all this at a time of a change in the trend of fire deaths which are now rising, and a time of additional demands because of the Grenfell Tower fire? Are you confident the Brigade will be able to maintain operational effectiveness in the absence of the government restoring the cuts they've made and are continuing to make in the fire service?
Well, thank you for the question. You've got huge experience in this area with LFIPA and stuff. So can I just, in addition to the roles you've talked about, just worth reminding ourselves the role the LFB played in relation to not just Grenfell Tower, but the terrorist attacks in London as well. I am concerned about the funding gap in the medium to long term. I think we're okay for the next couple of years because of the prudent decisions I took last year and I'm taking this year in relation to increase in council tax. I'm worried about pension and inflationary pressures as well going forward. You'll be aware that I asked the Commissioner last year to do a piece of work in relation to lessons learned from Grenfell, what equipment we need. Her assessment was we need £6 million worth of equipment and that costs £6 million to maintain and keep up to scratch every year going forward. So there is a budget gap which goes to £25 million in future years, and we've got to make sure we plan for reducing that gap as we go forward. What I don't want to have is a situation where I'm being advised to make the sort of savage cuts made under a previous administration to the LFB. They're extremely efficient. They continue to find efficiencies, so we need to make sure we support them.
Well, thank you for that. The fire stations closed by Boris Johnson have cost the Brigade £2 million on repairs and security so far from when they were closed until their sale. And that doesn't include the huge costs of the former HQ and Albert Embankment, which the Brigade is still responsible, and the ongoing cost of £7,500 a month for closed and unsold Clerkenwell. Apart from the impact on fire safety, do you think the former mayor took this expense into account when he was cutting 10 fire stations, 552 firefighter jobs, 324 support staff and 12 fire engines? And what do you think is the cost of restoring a number of these proposed cuts after Grenfell, for example, the 27 fire safety inspection posts?
The previous mayor was many things, but a details man he wasn't. I would be astonished if he looked at the evidence and considered the consequences of his decisions. History tells us he really does. What I do know is that the advice I've received is that the LFB is working flat out. It's difficult for them to make further efficiency savings, particularly the scale you've referred to. What we're trying to do is to make sure we can address the needs of the LFB today. You'll also be aware, some of it is more in relation to the public inquiry taking place. You'll also be aware of concerns the Commissioner has, in relation, and I have, of the welfare of staff, assistance we need to give them in relation to occupational health and other issues as well. And so we're trying to, as speedily as we can, fill the vacancies that there are in the LFB, and that will help in relation to the London Fire Brigade. But also I'm quite keen to address the issue of morale in the fire service and the Commissioner as well. And so there are things we're doing to try and make sure that the fire service has the best assistance they can receive from City Hall.
Thanks. And the Fire Brigade's got a unique position of trust amongst London and Londoners. How will your budget help the Brigade expand its outreach work with young people and vulnerable Londoners?
Yeah,
in particular, will you look at the Fire Cadet scheme and trying to expand it to other boroughs so that more London young people have the chance to participate in it?
Well, the Cadet scheme is something that the Commissioner is incredibly proud of, as indeed I am, and the Deputy Mayor is very proud of as well in this area. I mean, they do remarkable work. I'm always impressed at the enthusiasm of the cadets and the young people who do so much work with the London Fire Service. So the LFB is doing a huge amount of outreach work in relation to visits to schools, community groups, fire prevention advice. There's a outreach recruitment team who attend a number of different events. They also target vulnerable people, particular groups in our society who are more likely to have fires, and the prevention work is extremely important. But I just want to underscore your first point in your question about the credibility and high esteem in which our firefighters are held, and it's really important to recognise that. I'm glad that you did in your question.
Thank you.